Hey everyone, something a bit different for Shockmania. I wanted to take a look at two very new Hollywood blockbuster movies. Now, they appear to be, on the surface, quite different, but they actually do share a similarity. They're both horror thrillers, and they're both about serial killers. The first one is M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, or the second one is Osgood Perkins' Longlegs. Now, these movies are both currently playing in cinemas and on demand on one of your favourite services, so should be able to find these pretty easy. But I did watch them back to back to kind of get a bit of an idea about these two films. And I understand that here on YouTube there will be heaps and heaps and heaps of people talking about both Trapped and Longlegs. So thank you for tuning into this. I'm going to try and make this a little bit different compared to what everyone else is doing. So what I'd like to do is kind of look at the similarities and differences between the two films and then maybe pick a winner out of them. I think it's a very clear winner if you've seen both movies already, but if you haven't seen it, I just want to advise you before we start, this is going to be full of spoilers, so please be careful as we continue on. Firstly, let's take a look at Trap. Now, Trap is M. Night Shyamalan's latest film, and it stars the awesome Josh Hartnett, who I think does a great performance in this film. This is about a father and his daughter who attend a concert for someone called Lady Raven. It's an afternoon concert, and he notices that while he's there are a lot of police and FBI who are surrounding the building, and specifically surrounding the exits, not allowing anyone to leave. He goes and asks one of the souvenir attendants about what's going on, and they tell him that there is a sting operation for a serial killer that's on the loose. A serial killer called the Butcher. Now, unbeknownst to anyone else other than us, the audience, Josh Hartnett is the Butcher, although they like the way that the movie slowly implies that maybe he's not the Butcher, but it's very clear as we continue on that he's getting very paranoid because he doesn't want to get caught. So the whole movie is about him trying to figure out a way to get out of the arena and to safety. And he does this a few different ways. Firstly, by trying to cause a commotion, which he then understands that they are looking out for. So then he does probably the most boss move of all, is he manages to get his daughter on stage to have a kind of dance-off or whatever it is with the lead singer, Lady Raven, and then manages to convince her, once he finds out that Lady Raven is in on this whole sting operation, to get them out of the arena and to safety. Then Lady Raven obviously takes it upon herself to kind of act as the FBI and try to catch the Butcher. Looking over at Longlegs, it's also very similar in style with being a serial killer movie. This time, we've got a young FBI agent who seems to have some kind of strange psychic ability. And they are hunting down someone called Longlegs, played by Nicolas Cage, which I think we know that lately Nicolas Cage has not had the greatest of movie roles. But this time he seems to have just channeled his inner campiness and his inner craziness to create the character of Longlegs. Very much feels a bit like Heath Ledger's Joker. Maybe that's a bit of a controversial statement. And also, it does have a slight element of Hannibal Lecter, although not really. Hannibal Lecter is highly intelligent, whereas I don't think we get that same vibe from Longlegs. In this film, our FBI agent is trying to catch Longlegs before he adds another victim to his pile. She's able to decipher his codes, and she's able to find some of the clues that he has hidden. And what that leads us to is a bit of a confronting story, or what that leads her to, I should say, is a bit of a confronting story involving her past and her family and her involvement with Longlegs. And I think both movies have their pros and cons. Certainly with Trap, I love the idea. I think the idea itself is awesome, this whole sting operation. And as unrealistic or as unexpected as you think that might be, it's actually kind of based on a real incident that occurred, I think back in the 80s, when the FBI had a real-life sting operation, not quite to this scale, but they created a fake event and invited all of these wanted criminals, people who had outstanding arrest warrants, and made something like a few hundred arrests that particular day on all of these guys, just kind of playing on their greed. This is a little bit different with this film. They're trying to trap him in there. And for all intents and purposes, it's not a bad idea. Although you've got to kind of wonder why the FBI would probably put so many people in danger just to catch this one person. But perhaps that's their collateral damage risk assessment done prior. And they thought, well, we're happy to go with that. Now, being an M. Night Shyamalan film, I was expecting a twist. Because that's what he's famous for, the what a twist moment. Where was it? And this is where I get a little bit kind of disappointed with the film. Because if the twist was that the wife was the one who dobbed him in to the FBI, I'm a bit disappointed by that twist. I was really expecting something to really subvert what we'd seen so far. Take things like The Sixth Sense, where, he was dead. Take other films that he's done recently, like Old, where it was an experiment done by a pharmaceutical company. These are the types of twists that I was expecting in this film. I was expecting either the wife was actually the serial killer and that he was kind of covering for her, or I expected him and his wife to both be the serial killers. And that end sequence where they meet in the kitchen, I was expecting something a bit different, like, oh, hey, honey, you got away with it. Glad to see you again. Hey, we should try and work out how to get the hell out of here. There was far too many strange things happening in Trapped that really turned it from kind of an exciting start to a kind of weird ending. There were so many things that I didn't quite gel with. Like this, when he took the bike spoke out, why would he ever be allowed to do that? Why would he ever have been allowed to stop and pick up the bicycle? I understand he had OCD, but they didn't quite know that, and his OCD seemed to be quite random. And only towards the end of the film did it start playing up to his OCD characteristics, where he starts straightening things up that have fallen off the wall. Otherwise, I don't think that OCD element was really tackled too much in the film. On top of that, I think looking at the role of the singer in it, she did not seem the type of character that would be super strong enough to pull off what she was doing. She didn't have an ego. She was quite a friendly person, which also makes me think that why she didn't have too much security detail, where she was able to just drive out of the complex with only her old driver. That kind of took me out a little bit. And look, Trap was one of those films where the end of the movie ended, and I thought, wow, that was really great. I enjoyed that. Then went to bed and reflected on it the next day to go, there are far too many plot holes in that one to truly enjoy it. If you're going to give me a fun movie, make it fun all the way through. Don't start adding elements that can be questioned. And I think M. Night Shyamalan, you are a great filmmaker, and I do love the movies that you do, but I was expecting a better twist. And I think when you look at Longlegs, and when you look at how that movie ended, and if I was to give you the description of both movies and ask you which one of these do you think M. Night Shyamalan directed, my guess is that you'd probably say Longlegs. Because at the end of Longlegs, that's when we start getting the twists in that film, where the mother is involved in the killings, where there actually is a supernatural, occult kind of reference to it, where there is the devil. It is part of the film. Now, if you're one of those people that loves everything explained to you, you're probably going to get frustrated in Longlegs, because it doesn't go out to explain the devil. It doesn't go out to say where the devils come from, why Longlegs was infested by the devil, how he was able to pass on his ability to get the dolls to do his killing. And then this is where you got to think, is it a doll movie? Can you class this as a doll horror movie? Well, probably not. It's definitely a serial killer movie. But Longlegs is not without its faults either. I think the first 45 minutes are great. That slow burn build up of that film is really exciting. It's really entertaining. But then it gets to the point where it has to start explaining itself. And this is where I felt that there was a couple of things here that just didn't quite gel to me. So, and this is where spoiler talk. So if you haven't seen Longlegs, probably don't listen to this next week. But if you have seen Longlegs, I'd be keen to know what your thoughts are on this as well. Because what we get then is, we know that her mother, Agent Harker's mother, is involved with Longlegs to do the killings. We know that Longlegs creates these dolls that she, the mother, then delivers to the children for their birthday, as a birthday gift. What I didn't quite get was, does the mother hang around long enough to then go back in the house to collect the doll? And the reason I ask that is because there's a bit in the movie where the FBI are talking about the fact that they've seen no evidence of anyone else entering the house. For all intents and purposes, everything's a murder-suicide. They just don't know how it's being pulled off. And if it wasn't for the letters left behind by Longlegs, they probably wouldn't have connected all of these murders together. So my first issue there comes with, does the mother go back to collect the dolls? And if not, wouldn't they have understood that there are dolls in every murder, linking them all together? The second bit that I really got, and it only happened towards the end, when Agent Harker drives to the house of her FBI agent colleague for his daughter's birthday, Ruby, was that we could see the mother's blue Beetle in the driveway. Now, the mother has to hang around the house for a fair bit of time in order to drop off the gift, to make sure that the family interacts with the gift, to make sure that the murders occur. What I'm curious about is why in the 11-12 murders that happened beforehand, why there have been no eyewitnesses that placed that blue Beetle at the site of each murder, because it's clear that's how she was using to get away. That's her car. That's how she was getting around to all these different locations. So I kind of think with the super intelligence that the FBI has and their ability to collect all this evidence, that two seemingly obvious bits that would have kind of opened the whole case are kind of ignored. Having said that though, I still really enjoyed Longlegs. And if I was to pick one of the two movies to recommend to you, because if you say to me, Dan, I've only got so much time, I want to watch one of them, I would definitely go out and say Longlegs. It's certainly more of a horror movie than Trapped. Trapped is still a horror movie. I still believe that it is a horror film. It's just got more of a thriller and more of an action thriller element. There's a lot of action in Trapped. There's always something going on. There's always a new scenario happening. There's always a new situation that he has to get out of. Whereas Longlegs is not. Longlegs is a thriller. And what I liked in Longlegs was those scenes of the devil that would appear in the background for a couple of seconds in certain shots with Agent Harker, which I kind of had to point out to the person who was watching the film with me because they didn't see them. I thought that was quite clever and gives a bit of foreboding element to the film, especially when she answers the question of her mother where she says she doesn't pray. But anyway, that's my opinion. If I'm looking at these two movies and I'm putting them against each other, picking Trapped versus Longlegs, I would pick Longlegs over the two of them. But I'm very curious what you think about it. I'm also curious to see your opinion and your opinion of what I've said. Whether you think that I've got some of it right or whether you think I'm way out of line and that I missed a lot of the concepts of the film. This is Shockmania, and I'm glad you've tuned in because Shockmania is about looking at the world of horror, not just Hollywood movies. I understand this video is about Hollywood stuff, but I'd love to look at horror from all over the world, specifically Asia. So we do a lot of great stuff on this channel, independent horror as well, and Australian horror. So if that's your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel. I am the Arty Dans. You can find me on Facebook. If you've got a recommendation for me, just search for the Arty Dans to send me a friend request. Otherwise, this is Shockmania. I'll catch you next time.